Service, welcome back to the INSEVIS video tutorial. My name is Fabian, and this video is about the S7 IoT gateways and the edge HMIs from INSEVIS. Our gateway GC300T, pictured here on the left, has the same outer dimensions as our CPU CC300T. Edge HMIs also have the same dimensions as standard HMIs. The technical data are accordingly. The most important feature here on the connection side is the two Ethernet ports. These are a LAN and a WAN port, which are separate from each other. The LAN port is for the machine network, for internal communication, while the WAN port handles external communication, e.g. communication with a control panel or via internet with secure VPN connection. The LEDs for status indication are also present. Above this is the operating mode selector switch. With this, you can switch the device to service mode. Then you always have the defined IP address, 192.168.80.60, which is also the address of the factory settings. Underneath, there is the normal power connector. As always, the whole thing can be OEM labeled according to customer requirements. To configure your device, you only need a browser. You type the IP address of the device here, confirm, and then you get to this login screen. Username and password are admin. Of course, we recommend you to change this in the course of your configuration to a more secure variant. After login, we see here the configuration overview. All items that can be configured for our IIoT devices are covered here. Clicking the hamburger menu here, another sidebar appears. There is the same menu again, differently represented. As one would rather use it is left to everyone. If we now want to take a look at the features of our devices, we'll look here at the top left with the most important, which is our WebVisu. Starts a web page here with a visualization. This visualization can be created in Visu stage, as you're used to from INSEVIS, and it will be converted into a web visualization with a few clicks. That is, who is used to the conventional INSEVIS principle can simply continue as before and still work with the IIoT devices. Also integrated is Node-RED. If that still doesn't mean anything to you, Node-RED is a graphical programming environment with which one can create so-called nodes. These nodes are used to process asynchronous tasks, for example, reacting to alarms or sending emails when certain predefined events happen. These are just all things that you might not want to process in the PLC, but pull to this level. The Node-RED dashboard is also part of this. You can also create visualizations here. You can program these through the nodes. It's a bit more rudimentary than our WebVisu, but it's functional. Since Node-RED is an open source project, anyone can extend and modify it as they wish. We can't give you any support in addition to our demo. This means if you have a problem with Node-RED, for example, because you have now written a flow that doesn't work here as it should or something like that, unfortunately we can't help you, but Node-RED has a very big, helpful online community. There are videos, tutorials, and all kinds of forums there. You are actually always very well supported. The Node-RED installed here is the default one with a dashboard. But of course, there is an online repository of Node-RED with over 400,000 entries in the library. So you can easily extend your Node-RED with that, of course. In addition, the devices provide a OPC-UA server. So a full OPC-UA server, but not a microserver or something like that. We can also create our own custom namespace, for example, using the UA modular. However, the S7-1500 namespace is already pre-installed and can be used. For more information, there is an OPC-UA video, and for the custom namespace, also a demo in the download area of the INSEVIS homepage. Besides OPC-UA, MQTT is of course also on board. This is a standardized communication protocol for IIoT. For example, telemetry data can be collected from the PLC and forwarded, so the machine can be incorporated into a process monitoring system. And this data can also be sent to online query clients. Also to MQTT, there is a separate video in which the whole configuration is explained. Connections are created so that devices can trade this data exchange. In order for the devices to be able to handle this data exchange, connections are created. Currently available connections are S7 and Modbus TCP connections. If I have a connection, then I can create data points. I can create them by hand or import them either from TIA Portal, Semantic Manager, or even Visu Stage. Then I have this whole data list here. With these hooks here, I can make them available to the appropriate program. If the hook is set, they show up in the appropriate place. You can then still set the data types and etc. and process them further. And of course, there are the corresponding videos. There is, of course, also a user administration here. There are already existing users here. I can also create new users. e.g., the front end I enter e.g., still another email address, details to the user. For example, which activity he carries out, or the like. Then what configuration privileges he should have here for the web interface. Now, let's say the friends, for example. He only needs MQTT. Just because he is the MQTT guy there, then he gets this when it should go on. If the Franz can do something in the WebVisu, yes, the Franz is MQTT type, and at the same time he is the service technician, then he also gets service privileges. He would then also be able to get a password so that the whole thing is secured. The password is encrypted, of course. All these settings that you have made so far can then be saved under System Backup and Updates. Here we can download our connections and data points or upload already existing configuration. The same with the settings and the users. Also, the super user, which is the admin, can be downloaded and uploaded. You can create a complete backup or upload. That means if you already created a backup for your gateway or your edge, HMI, and you want to use the same device, you can just do an upload. One can also reset back to factory defaults. You can download and view the log files here. Or for example, for the service case, quite helpful. If something does not run as you expect, you could send us a log and we can look in there as well. Then there are the options, firmware update, search for an update via internet update, or if you get a new firmware version from us, install it. The topic navigation on the user interface is explained again briefly. If I click here above in the bar, I jump always a menu sequence back. But I can also do the whole thing here in the sidebar. There I have then a kind of tree view. See always on the basis of the highlights where I am. It is up to everyone. You can also use both ways mixed.